Hello and welcome back to the You Are the Program podcast. It is a Monday night. It is Michigan week. This is the You Are the Program podcast presented by Nudge Printing. It's Brian Lewerke, Tyler Higbee, Dante Rosano. We are here after a Michigan State loss. Not shocking. To Indiana, 38-13. Was that the same exact score of the UCLA game?
Oh wow! Didn't even catch that one.
No, I didn't either. It might be.
It might have been.
Let me
game where
fact check
that?
You I'm gonna fact check you real quick.
This is a podcast of accountability. We're gonna be accountable right here.
It is 38-13. You were
38-13. In a game that I sent a tweet out from our podcast account earlier or during the game, and it was an effort that I think we kind of needed to see in terms of there wasn't quit, I don't think, in any sense of the term in that game. That was one that you can just completely chalk up to there was a better team on one side.
Yeah, and my expectations going into this game, sadly, were kind of met in the sense that we didn't get blown out. I mean, we lost by 25, but we didn't get absolutely ran through. We were actually leading for a good amount of the first half and showed a lot of fight in the first half. And we had two long drives that we were, showing that we could move the ball on offense. And it's just kind of like it was just Indiana's a better team. They got better players than us right now. They probably have a better coach than us right now. So that's just kind of the situation that we're in. But I don't know. I'm definitely not shocked by this final score, but I'm not terribly upset either.
Probably was a strong use of the word probably. Right.
I it's just because I hate throwing our team under the bus, but Cignetti is a better coach. Yes,
I think it's fair without throwing our team under the bus to say they got a good coach.
Okay.
You know what sucks is the fact that where we're at right now with this program, 25-point losses. That it wasn't worse than that. That's what's disappointing. I think that we're kind of all in the same boat between us three and everybody else that's a Spartan fan, that we're celebrating that we didn't absolutely get the piss beat out of us this weekend. Although it was good to see this team fight in the first quarter. But the rest of the game, you kind of just knew how it was going to go. Indiana's the better team, better coach. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country. I think you might have mentioned it, Brian, over the weekend. Like, the fact that this team showed some fight and they came out with some energy, to me, is almost more concerning in the fact that they just laid down against UCLA. Like, that further proves the point that they did.
Yeah.
They did, in fact, just quit against UCLA. And it wasn't just an outlier, and it wasn't just a team that maybe they're not what we thought they were. This team it shows flashes. And to me, it's almost more concerning the fact that they did quit and as bad as they looked against UCLA.
I think there's a lot of things that can be true. And I don't want to say we're celebrating a 38-13 loss in any sense of the word. And I know that there was a couple replies to that tweet of give credit to this team for showing some heart and showing some fight and showing some competency earlier in this game. And we're at the point now where we'll talk about this. This is going to be our next segment, but we're at the point now where it feels like it's like it's not up or shut up time, honestly, for this coaching staff and this team in general. And so in a landscape of college football to where you can have guys enter the portal. Now that portal window has changed. Not only has the portal window changed, but even if you fire your coach, previously you were able to enter the portal immediately. Now it has changed towards it's 5 days after the new coach is named. So there's been a little bit of change on that. But all to say, I don't think in any sense of the term that we're celebrating this. It's just it was, Tyler, to your point, I think it became more frustrating, the point that you came out and played the way that you did against UCLA, but it also highlights a bigger fact because this isn't just a one-time occurrence, the UCLA game. It was an occurrence last year in the Rutgers game when there was a lot to play for. Team phoned it in. And it was the same thing here of, Coach D'Antonio, I feel like, would always tell us and the team before games where you're playing lesser competition that you can't just roll the helmet out there and expect to win. And that's what is most frustrating, it feels like, because after an emotional letdown in that Nebraska game, it felt like they didn't realize the intensity of the moment, and the coaching staff even more so probably did not sell that you can't just roll your helmet out there because UCLA's team's been struggling, had one win, and they got to come across the country. Like, all of those things kind of stack up to so much to say that, yes, I think that was a positive step in the right direction in terms of we showed competency, but at the end of the day, I'd rather see a competency against a team like that still losing by that amount versus going out and seeing a disheartening performance against a team that you can beat, because those performances are starting to stack up, and not enough of those where the talent field is even and we're just out coaching or outplaying the other team.
Yeah, and competency has to be like the baseline. Like, that has to be not even something that's mentioned, that you should just be able to do. And when you really look at it, we haven't made a bowl game or we've made one bowl game since we left college. And you think about all the stuff that all three of us have done since we've been out of college. Like, we've been out of college for a while. We've made one bowl game since 2019. We're 2-10 in our last 12 Big Ten games. There's just got to be something that, and again, like, it's good that we were able to stay at least a little bit competitive with Indiana. Again, we're not praising that by any means. Obviously, we want to win every game. But when you look at the rest of our schedule, these are all games that we should at least be competent in. There's no one that's really – I mean, Michigan is probably the best team that we're going to face in the next 6 weeks. And they're a very beatable team. They're not great. They're not bad, but they're definitely beatable. And every team after that, I think, is a winnable game. So it's got to be a situation where we can stick our foot in the ground and figure out a way to win these games. And I know there's obviously a lot of controversy and talk about what's going to be done with the overall program in general, but you kind of got to shut that out and find a way to win three more games to win a bowl game.
That was well said. I agree with you, everything you just said. I'll say maybe kind of get into the offense a little bit. Like, this offense did what this team needed them to do to stay in the game early. I mean, it was long drives. It was converting on third down. It was Childs making some of the easy throws, but converting them and completing them, and that's kind of what we wanted to see. And that's kind of how this Michigan State team was going to stay in the game, especially early, because this Indiana offense is so efficient. They're so good at what they do. You knew they were going to put up points, and you also knew that field goals weren't going to beat this team. But I was happy to see this Michigan State offense put points on the board early and kind of get things going.
Let's talk about the game, because we have another topic of discussion that, well, which way do you guys want to do it? I had a point on the coaching staff and the program in general, or do you want to talk through this game? Because I think there's not a ton to talk through in this game, but how do you
let's just knock the game out real quick.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
So, Tyler, you hit on a good point, and this is what makes, honestly, even more frustrating. Like, Aiden Childs probably put one of his better games on performance against one of the best defense they've played all year. Transparently, he was, I want to say, 27 of 33, so 6 incompletions, 243. He also had a run of 64. The offense moved the ball early, and you only scored 13 points, and that's disappointing, but they were long, methodical drives without a run game, which was, we kind of expected the lack of run game in this game. Do you guys want to know, without looking at it, leading rusher?
I wrote it down. Yeah.
Outside of Aiden Childs.
Yeah. 13 yards.
Yep. Elijah Oliver. So he had 5 carries for 13 yards, long of 9. Brandon Tullis had 2 carries for 3 yards, and Mekhi Frazier had 7 carries for 1 yard. It was not pretty. It was not pretty in the run game whatsoever. On that point, so Indiana had 1, 2.5, 5, 6, 8, 9 TFLs on the day. And that just kind of highlights there's so many issues, especially with this offensive line right now. We'll continue to talk about it. I guess we may have underestimated the impact and effect of Stanton Ramil on that offensive line. But this is kind of where we go back to the coaching discussion of Connor Moore has played left tackle the last 3 games, and Ashton Lepo gets knocked out for the season, and you're expecting kind of Connor Moore to go back to that right side and then Rustin Young to take over left like happened in the USC game. No, Connor Moore plays at left and Rustin Young plays at right, and we can't get anything going on the ground. Now, all that to say, Indiana's probably one of the better defenses in the country, but this offense moved the ball, put together more of a competent game plan. That was at least encouraging to see, at least early in the game.
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned earlier, there were 2 drives the first half of over 8.5 minutes, and I think our game plan of trying to keep the ball out of Indiana's hands worked well. We were able to move the ball and finish on those drives when we had to, and we were leading at one point in the game, and not like a early first score, and you're leading in the first 5 minutes, but we actually had good control of that game. And as far as like the O-line issue goes, I don't know, Tyler, if you have any insight on this, but like if you're an offensive line and obviously you're struggling and you want to switch up, like we always talk about consistency in the O-line, having guys play the same position, but if it's not working, why not change it up? And I know, Dante, you're talking about guys switching up and playing all of these different positions, but I think there's nothing wrong with that, is getting guys different looks, because obviously whatever we're doing is not working, and maybe trying to figure out if some guy fits in a better spot and just kind of playing them around and playing that little experimental game during the game. But I don't know if that's like a great game plan, but I think that's probably the reason why for that.
I think it's interesting. Like Connor Moore was playing so well on the right side earlier in the year, and we talked about how good that right side was looking early on, and then you want to move him to the left once some guys get banged up, and you try to shuffle some pieces around. To your point, Brian, I feel like he was so good on the right side, and he looked so comfortable on the right side. I almost just want to leave him there, and just shuffle other pieces. And the tricky part is Rustin Young comes in, and he's a young guy, and he might have. I honestly don't know. Was he a right tackle in college or in high school? Dante, do either of y'all know? Like to my point, like if he was a right tackle in high school, him being such a young guy, you don't want to switch him over to the left side, because I've mentioned it already this year how different it is going from right to left. So maybe you have a little more trust in Connor Moore going from right to left. But like I said, Connor Moore was so comfortable on that right side. It's tough to see him. I mean, he struggled a little bit in the pass block. We saw the sack that he gave up there on 4th down, but it's a good point by you, Brian. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is another frustrating point, is the fact that it was probably our most competent offensive game plan since USC. Obviously, Aiden Childs' performance plays a part in that. This was probably the first time where I know Indiana had 4 sacks in the game. Didn't really feel like he was given a ton of time, but he was back to being able to create. Nick Marsh finally had a game, 7 catches, 64 yards. Like, it was these types of things. It was the shorter routes. It was the timing routes. I can't remember. It was probably 2 or 3 catches in one of the drives, I think late in the first half or early in the second half, to where we were in 3rd or 1st or 2nd and manageable, and we were just hitting Nick Marsh on these out routes when they were giving him space. Like, these types of things that happen in our offense, that's what makes it all the more frustrating, because you do have receivers that can make a difference in this game. You have a passing game, in theory, that can make a difference in games. And I think this is going to be a big point of ours going into the Michigan game coming up here, is that you have a group of receivers and a passing game that, in theory, can single-handedly get you in a game or win you a game or keep you in a game. And that's where it's just frustrating, to the point of you didn't see it against UCLA pretty much outside of the first drive. Nebraska, we were throwing the ball deep a lot, it felt like, and we were only trying to go intermediate to short through the run game, and we were trying to go over top with the pass game. That's where it becomes very frustrating that the offense hasn't clicked to this point, because in the first 3 to 4 weeks, inferior competition, I understand, but even in the USC game, they still move the ball and use this pass game to their advantage, but it hasn't felt like that the last couple of weeks. So it was at least good to see that start to roll in the positive direction, because we saw 2 games that it was awful, quite frankly.
Yeah, and to that point, there's 6 guys that had 3 or more receptions. 5 of those guys had more than 40 yards. So, or excuse me, more than 30 yards. So, Aiden Childs is doing a good job of spreading the ball around, and it goes to show that we do have some weapons on the outside that can make plays in the passing game and are able to move the ball. So it's just kind of the matter of getting them the ball, which we did, I think, a great job of doing that. Obviously, Aiden Childs at one point in the first half was, I think, 18 for 20 for like 160 yards. So, I mean, that's 90% completion, and you will take that any day of the week.
We talked about it, I feel like, in the pregame. I think, Tyler, you had brought it up in the pregame. Almost pass the ball to run the ball. Like, you work backwards in your game planning, because you have these weapons on the outside. Just utilize that and make the defense play light in the box to where you feel like you can get favorable numbers. It just – that's where the game planning and some of the frustrations, I feel like, have really continued to stack up on this offensive side. Good there. Defensively, not a lot to talk about. I mean, there was a point early in the game we go down, have a long drive, score the 3 on the board, and it was 3rd and I think 13, their first couple plays, and it was 3rd and 13, to where if you get a stop there, your offense, we had long drive to start. If you get a stop and score, all of a sudden the game pressure goes to Indiana. I don't think we end up winning the game, but it's one of those critical moments in the game, and that's where this team in general needs to learn how to capitalize that, because it's felt like that for the last 3 weeks now that we've been on this long losing streak. Or even 4 weeks. Go back to the USC game. There was the 3rd and 3 where we had a sack that Mayava escapes out of. It's learning how to win and capitalize on big plays. Again, I don't think we would have won this game saying that we make that play, but either way, there's critical moments in the game where you need guys to make a play, or you need a unit to make a stop, and you do not get it. And so that's where some of the frustration comes from defensively. But the rest of the game, I mean, outside of that one play, I can't really say there was a lot to resist the Indiana passing attack, because Mendoza just felt like was playing pitch and catch out there all day.
Yeah, and that's kind of the name of the game, is being opportunistic on defense and being able to take advantage of when the offense makes mistakes. And obviously Indiana didn't make a lot, but you have to be able to capitalize on those spots where it is the 3rd and long, and you can kind of get off the field and give the ball back to your offense. As far as the pass rush wise, we had 0 sacks and only 3 TFLs in the whole game. And I mean, obviously Mendoza is a great quarterback, and he's able to get the ball out quickly. I don't think this game was going to be like I wasn't undecided on whether he was a good quarterback before this game, and obviously he threw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he was able to move the ball well, and it was going to be a tall task to be able to stop Indiana's offense. But again, it comes down to being able to, in those key situations in the game where they maybe make one mistake and a couple mistakes, and you get them into a 3rd and long, and you got to be able to take advantage of that and get off the field, basically.
That's why they're so good. I mean, both of y'all talked on it. How, I mean, the few times they get into 3rd and long, and you got to get them off the field, they make a good play to keep their drive going. Elijah Surratt was as advertised. I mean, he had a hell of a game, some great catches. That's just, I mean, you really just got to tip their cap. Indiana was who they are. They capitalized. Like I said, Michigan State had a good game plan of trying to keep them off the field, long, methodical drives. But whenever Indiana had the ball, they made the most of it. They had 3 touchdowns, I think, on 3 drives in the first half, right? They only had the ball 3 times. It was 21-10 at halftime.
Yeah.
So I mean, they made the most of their drives, and they did what they do. They score efficient. And is Mendoza still the Heisman favorite? or who would be the Heisman favorite right now?
Probably.
It's got to be either him or Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I do like Ty Simpson a lot, but yeah, I think they're the top two right now.
He's got a real chance of winning it, man. I mean, the rest of their schedule shaking out the way that it is. I would imagine that Spignetti and this staff, because if I was Michigan State, I'd feel the same way. Like if this was playing out the way that it was, you have a quarterback that's being nationally recognized and in position. I think you kind of got to do everything you can to get him that. So I wouldn't be stunned if he ends up winning it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Indiana has a game that they don't win by 10 for the rest of the season. We got UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Purdue.
I'm interested to see the UCLA game.
I am
see
interested
how actually like real this stretch is. I mean, they barely beat Maryland, going off topic here, but it'll be interesting to look back at the end of the season to see what UCLA ends up being. But
yeah,
I mean, either way, the one thing I will say is we held Indiana to under their rushing total, their average for the year. They were averaging 240 on the year. We held them to 132. I don't know how much of that was due to the fact that they could just get literally anything they wanted over the air. So a little bit of grain of salt there, but
we also held them under
their
point per game total.
Yeah.
I think they were averaging 44 points a game.
Yes. Hey, we got to take these wins where we can. All that to say, again, back to the beginning of the discussion, this is not cause for celebration. I think it's, if anything else, I just think this is a cause for, let's maybe pump the brakes a touch on how quick we get rid of Jonathon Smith. That's where I want to move to next. I sent you guys a couple things today, and this whole topic is obviously being, around the program and having our podcast around this program. This is going to be the biggest topic going forward, is the Jonathon Smith discussion and what do you do? I wanted to pose you guys this question to open up this kind of segment here, or open up this discussion. Is there anything that this team or Jonathon Smith, this coaching staff, could do to the point where you'd feel better about bringing him back next year, whether you think he's going to be gone or not?
I mean, if they win out, I would say he's clearly back. If they beat Michigan and lose every game after, I don't love that. But I mean, the bottom line of this conversation is like I don't really like letting go of a coach after 2 years. Like I don't really know. I think Spignetti is like the biggest outlier that you can ever imagine. Coaches don't do that at small schools like Indiana in 2 years. So I think you got to give a guy at least 3 years. And whether it pans out or not, I think you got to be able to let a guy recruit and get his, get established at a place. But I think you got to be at least be able to win a bowl game this year to make me feel comfortable about our standing in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So whether or not, I want this to be more of like, not do you think he's going to come back? Hold that neutral, right? Take that out of the equation. Is there anything that could be done to gain momentum to where you feel actually good about this coaching staff going into next year? Would it be only win out?
I think if you win, how many games we have? We have 6 games left, or 5.
5.
I think if you win 4 games, I'm not feeling like I'm feeling pretty good because it shows that a team he can get the team to get up and fight, and they're able even if we lose the Michigan game and then win for the rest. I think I'm feeling comfortable with the 7-5 season.
I mean, if you get to 7-5, I think that'd be a borderline miracle considering where we're at right now. I think if somehow you get to 6 wins, you get to a bowl game, I'd feel good about him coming back next year. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find 3 wins on the schedule the rest of the year. Just given the way this team's played, the way they've been so inconsistent throughout the year. If you beat Michigan and say you beat Michigan, you win one more game and you're 5-7. Like I just think it's hard to have a case where you're confident going into next year under Jonathon Smith. But like you said, Brian, it's hard. You're comparing. A lot of people want to compare him to Cignetti. Like, why can't you do what Cignetti's doing? And it's just like I mentioned maybe a couple weeks ago. Like the hand that Jonathon Smith was dealt, where this program was at when he took it over, is just not in his favor. So that's also something to consider.
This is what I really don't like about the entire discussion, to what you just said, because not only did Cignetti take over, and I don't want to call it a drastically better situation. It was better because of the fact that you didn't have 60 guys enter the portal. I don't know what their numbers were. And from the fact that we talked about it last week, Cignetti brought over pretty much all of his guys from JMU. I think it's fair for everyone to say, well, okay, Jonathon Smith coming over from Oregon State had a good year. Why couldn't he bring everyone over from there? That is fair. But at the same time, this isn't just the amount of talent that has come in or out. It's also, look at the resources that Cignetti was provided. This is where I need more detail on how much more was he provided from a Jonathon Smith, because once you start winning, then the money starts pouring in. You get the AD, you get the donors, and they all systems go from that standpoint. Where I have a really hard time, and Brian, you talked about it, letting him go after 2 years, was he ever given a chance to win in the first place? Was he ever given a true chance? And I come from the aspect of, I don't know if I've bluntly stated this on the podcast, but I don't think he will come back next year. And I don't think at this current moment he should, to be honest, because we've had way too many instances of the games like the Indianas, the Oregons, the Ohio States, where you have a huge talent deficit. That is besides the point. It is those games where you've had a minimal talent deficit or an equal playing field. And I think about the Iowa game last year as the one in the positive column, to where this coaching staff has shown we can take advantage of those, because that's what you're going to have to build your program off of right now. You're going to have to find little wins and marginal wins in these games to start gaining momentum. And we haven't shown any of that right now. We go back to Rutgers last year, bowl game on the line. You get blown out. UCLA game this year, homecoming. You get blown out. Nebraska game this year, you have an opportunity to win. You fumble that one away. So, like, all these little things are very key, I think, to the discussion. But I think both things can very much be true. Do I think that he's a fit here? And do I think he will succeed here? At this point in time, truthfully, I don't have a ton of hope for it. But at the same time, I think it can also be true to say, was he given the full ability for him to install his culture, his program, his players, whatever it might be? I think it's fair to say no on that conversation. So to me, I think if you find a way to beat Michigan and go to a bowl game, I think that would be a massive win to keep him around for next year and go forward with this program, because you'll finally have some sort of momentum that people can grasp to. Now, it seems like a really tall task, but I read you guys the 5 games earlier today, and at the beginning of the season, you looked at those final 5 games and you said, hopefully we go, 2-3 or 3-2 with them. Penn State's fallen off. I don't know what they're playing for right now. And you truly could beat a Minnesota and Iowa and Maryland and even a Michigan team. So you'd have to go 4-1 and beat Michigan. But Tyler, to your point, I think I agree. If you go 5-7, lose to Michigan, I don't know. I don't know what there is out there to give it another year, to be honest.
Yeah, 5-7 with a loss to Michigan. You don't make a bowl game, you lose to the rival team. That would be a tough sell going into year 3. But I mean, every game on the schedule, like I said, is winnable, and it's not going to be easy. I could see us losing all of them. I could see us winning all of them. It's kind of like Depends on how. I mean, I don't think that the talent gap disparity is too great in most of these games. So just it kind of comes down to execution and a little bit of coaching as well. But
Are we all in agreement that anything less than 5-7, it's not even up for discussion? And then 5-7, you better have a good argument, and anything better than that, we're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you need some type of momentum, and that's kind of what I said is like you're playing these teams that your talent deficit is not. Brian, you just mentioned it. I think Penn State would be the only one that we have a true talent deficit, but they have so many other issues going on right now.
Yeah.
That it neutralizes it out. And if you see this team play a bunch of close games and lose them, I mean, that's another discussion. At the end of the day, you have to start winning games because you're playing 5 teams that in theory you can beat. And this is how you're going to have to rebuild the program in year 3 or 4 if you give them more years. You got to win these types of games, the games that are even. You have to start having marginal success to get momentum going forward. And so I think it's all going to play itself out. To me, I think the Indiana game, just to put a cap on that, the Indiana game bought him time in terms of you would have seen if the team just pushed all their chips in and said, cash me out. I'm good. They came out, they played well enough early. The talent deficit was just there, and that's what happens when you lose 38-13 to the number 3 or now 2 team in the country.
Agreed.
All right. Before we go into, we might talk a touch about the Michigan game right now and a touch about our locks that are going our way. I want to talk to you guys. We want to talk to you guys about Nudge Printing. This is what, week 8, 9 of the college football season at this point?
9, including week 0?
9 weeks into our partnership with Nudge Printing as our presenting sponsor. And I have yet to see any better Michigan State gear on the market. We are very, very proud to be presented by Nudge Printing. Not only the great and stylish gear that they have, but it's very quality. The shirt that I have, like the softness of the fabric, and it's all for a great price. And it's all for Spartans. And it's all local in Michigan here. We are proudly presented by Nudge Printing. If you're looking for the perfect Spartan gear, you have to check them out. You don't go to these big major retail, whether it's a Fanatics or any of the golf brands or anything like that. No, go to Nudge Printing. It is local, made here in mid-Michigan. So when you wear their gear, you're supporting local craftsmanship with a true Spartan spirit. Make sure you go over to Nudge Printing for all of your Spartan gear needs. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Michigan game because I want to give a little bit of heads up before we record our podcast and send it out on Thursday. We will be doing a tailgate again this year. We will be behind Jenison Fieldhouse, kind of right by the Riverwalk there. I don't know if you guys knew this. I just found this out last week. The bridge that we typically walk over from the Kellogg Center is closed for construction.
Oh.
So if you're planning on walking over from Kellogg, typically we're like right off the path there behind Jenison. From Kellogg behind Jenison, you'll find us. We'll tweet out a picture of where we're at. And so if you want to stop by, if you want to say hello, we'll be out there having a good old time. I don't know how many people will stop by in terms of former Spartans, but I do know that when we're sending the word out to some of our old teammates, hopefully we stop by the Ohio State game last year. Different circumstances, but we had quite a few there. We'd love to interact with you guys, and in a brutal season so far, we'd love to give a little bit of fun and hope around here because we're not going to let off the gas pedal in terms of the tailgate and the time that we have this weekend.
So how's the team doing the walk right now? Do they have to walk through? Because I mean, the only other way is to walk through the parking garage.
Yeah, so they come out that way and then they walk straight up the path. Like our tailgate's literally right there.
Yeah, so they're gonna walk right by us.
Yeah, and then they connect back to the Spartan path there.
All right, that'd be sick. I'm excited for it. I think I know Rocky texted me that he's gonna be up there.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to make it to the tailgate, but I invited him, so might see him and a couple other Spartan guys possibly. So
We have a lot of time. The game time
we
was
do.
just announced on Sunday. To all of our displeasure, a night game.
Not all of ours.
You liked it?
I mean, I'm not too terribly upset about it being a night game.
I'm upset because I don't get to hang out with our boy Dr. Miller after the game because he's have to be working the whole game. But I don't hate a night game. It kind of gives you a whole day to be able to hang out and watch football at the tailgate. But
it's just a long day. I'd like to get it over with. If this was 5-2 Michigan State playing 5-2 Michigan, I'd be a lot more into it. That's just the one thing, and this is my bigger point with the jerseys and everything right now. Someone replied back to our message after, I can't remember what it was. It was something about the uniforms again. I've been on my soapbox about that this year, but they had pointed back to the Michigan game in 2011 when they had the Nike Pro Combats, and they're like, "Well, you probably weren't complaining about these." Just like, dude, that was literally a one game and done jersey, like literally one game and done. So there was excitement around it. Point being with the night games now is that the TV networks have started putting any game at night because they have these exclusive deals with the conferences. They're just trying to fill spots. So this game to Spartan fans does not feel like it's the Michigan game. It's always a big game, but it doesn't feel like it has that type of energy that a typical night game back in 2015, 2014 did when Michigan State was rolling. So that's the one reason I don't really like it as much, is just because it doesn't feel like this game deserves to be a night game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is pretty cool. This is only the second night game. I think the third night game in the series history, and the second one at Spartan Stadium. The first one was
49-0 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, yeah. The first one in the series was 2017 when we won, and then
the monsoon, baby.
Yeah, the monsoon. Great game. We'll talk about that game in our next pod. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun to be in Spartan Stadium for this. Is my first time as a fan watching a night game at Spartan Stadium, and to have it be against Michigan should be pretty fun.
Agreed. All right, we'll talk about that more coming up later this week. I wanted to get into our locks and kind of around the Big Ten, around the country. I think it's been fun for us to kind of look around the country and around the Big Ten a little bit more this year. Let's talk about our locks first and foremost, because this guy has figured it out. This guy has really figured it out. 5 in a row for me. Took Vandy -2.5. My point being with Vandy, why I picked him twice this year, is in an era of college football where teams rarely feel like they're comfortable, even if they're a good team like an LSU earlier this year. It doesn't feel like teams have true identities outside of like those top 2 or 3 teams. Vanderbilt football has found an identity, and they just keep rolling along. And like the vibes at Vanderbilt football are incredible. -2.5. I go to 5-3 on the year after a 0-3 start. Very proud of myself here. Very proud of myself.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna give you my best game of the week that I watched, the Georgia Ole Miss game. Electric game. Over was absolutely smashed by like I think 4 touchdowns. Just fun to watch. I don't know. It was great. And one team I'm also curious about is Ohio State. I really don't know if they've played. I mean, they played Texas week 1, and Texas has shown to not be fantastic. I do think Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country, but I'm curious to see when they actually play a real opponent, and they really don't until Michigan, the last game of the year, and whether that's like Michigan's a good team, but not like a upper echelon team where we can really learn a lot about Ohio State. But yeah, I don't know. And obviously Oregon dog walked Rutgers in New Jersey. So,
what was your lock?
Oh yes, my lock. I won, or I pushed again. I had USC +10 against Notre Dame. I got to stop and just buy the half point because I have 2 pushes on the year, and that's just ridiculous. And I'd rather lose than have a push at this point. So I'm going to start putting that 0.5 at the end of all my numbers.
Well,
What
I
do
know
you got,
everyone's going to be
Tyler?
shocked to hear that my lock did not hit.
Picks God.
So here's the thing. I need to start doing a deeper dive before we record on Wednesday, because on Thursday, I feel like I have a clearer head after I listen to my podcast, that specifically Josh Pate, who has been pretty money all year. Told you guys about him a couple weeks ago. But I found out on Friday that my lock was my lock was Texas Tech -7.5 at Arizona State. Found out Friday that the starting quarterback was out. And when I tell you that I loved Arizona State when I found that it was out. But when it's my lock, that's not a great feeling to have. So I've just got to be better. That's all it really comes down to. Back to the hand up accountability.
Yeah, this is a common theme that I've heard from you this past couple of years.
What do you mean past couple of years? I had the best record last year.
I don't know. There's a couple times last year where I remember you saying, "I just got to be better. Hand up. It's on me."
Yeah, when I go like 10-2, when those 2 losses, I got to be better.
All right.
I'll lend you Vandy next week. I'll lay off of him so that you can take him.
I don't want him. I don't want him.
Quickly, the USC game, I wanted to touch on that real quick because USC and Notre Dame have been kind of a topic of discussion for us in different aspects. We thought USC was good, and I still think they are. Like, that game to me is not exactly representative, or how do I want to say this? I don't want to say it wasn't representative of them. They kicked that ball or that game away, I feel like, themselves. I'm not trying to take anything away from Notre Dame in that one, but they had so many chances to cover for you, for sure, Brian, but also outright win that game. And it felt like that was the first time we've seen cracks in Maava. He threw a couple of pretty bad picks, and then also the weather just didn't play into their hands whatsoever because they're on like their 4th or 5th string running back. That should not be. If that game keeps USC out of the playoffs somehow, I don't think it should. Like, they're going to have to win out at this point to get in. But I still do think that they're a very real team. And then Notre Dame, again, weather dependent. Jeremiah Love was fantastic in that game. It kind of went how you would expect a very rainy, bad weather game to go, in terms of they didn't really have the explosives through the air because of the weather, but they were able to run the ball all over USC. So kind of what I expected a little bit from that game. And I think the result of a 10-point win might be a little much in terms of what I feel like USC should have been awarded in that game, in terms of, I don't think it should have been a double-digit game.
Yeah, I think USC more so lost that game than Notre Dame won it. And I'm kind of out on Notre Dame. Even if they win out, I know they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be like a Final 4 team for sure, and then probably not a Final 8 team as well. But I don't know.
All right. Any other games around the country catch your attention? The Bama game, Bama, Tennessee. Did anyone see the play before half?
Yes, live. That was sick.
I was at my brother's house, and I couldn't believe that they were lining up in goal line trying to show power. They didn't have any timeouts. It was the most obvious play in the world that they were going to play action and throw that ball. I didn't understand the game plan, or that call specifically at all. You're showing power in a play action in a situation where you have to score or you're going to lose points, or throw an incomplete pass and you can kick field goal. Really bad play on that standpoint. But Bama, you talked about Ohio State. I think they're starting to re-enter that discussion of, I think Ohio State, Bama, and Indiana are separating themselves a little bit from the rest of the field, and Texas A&M could still sneak in there, but I think those 3 are making progress towards separating.
We do need to mention Miami losing Friday night. Carson Beck looked like Carson Beck.
Yeah,
Did
that was a tough game.
Did I text you guys before that game, or I might have texted Gray? They were just so due for a Cristobal Carson Beck disaster at some point this year, and it came. It happened.
It did. Florida State is also honestly the entire state of Florida in college football had an awful week. Florida State is. I thought they were they beat Alabama, and whether or not that's just a fluke win or not, I still thought they were a good team, and they've proven to not be. And then when you mentioned those upper echelon three teams, I think Oregon's kind of still in that conversation. I know Indiana went to their place and beat them a couple weeks ago, but I do think Oregon is still very much in that high tier team conversation.
Is Texas Tech out? I know they lost. They didn't have their quarterback, but a lot of people were talking about him as being one of the best in the country 2 weeks ago, and they lose with the backup quarterback at Arizona State, who's also, I think, a pretty decent team too.
I wouldn't take them out. They're in that. To me, I think they're in that next tier. I wouldn't be stunned if they make a run in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are going to finish and wrap up here. We have a very important game this weekend, one that means a lot to not just us, but every single person that follows this program, this team, this university. Michigan coming in 7:30. You boys coming in this weekend, going up to East Lansing. It'll be a fun time. I'm fired up regardless of what this team's done this year. It's a chance to prove themselves. I feel like Jonathon Smith had talked about it a little bit in his press conference today. He seemed a little bit more fired up. He seemed a little bit more on edge, and I'm excited to see how this team responds after how that game finished last year. Another chance for them to prove themselves, and this is maybe your last chance as a coaching staff and a team to prove yourselves to a fan base and a university as a whole. So go green. We will talk to you later this week.